I want to transition to going back to the old. Buffalo's an old city. When I go out of town, I talk to other companies. They're always shocked at how many boilers we do. But even the boiler technology's increased quite a bit. Do you mind maybe just elaborating on that and what are we doing with boilers? Maybe the high efficiency, the Viessmann, indirects, anything along those lines.
Viessmann boilers is kind of our high-end boiler, kind of like our Train dual fuel system is our high-end forced air system. Viessmann boilers are our high-end boiler solution, and they have Wi-Fi capability. Their piping, once you understand it, is very simple and very productive as well. Like it's simple, but it works. But if you've never seen one before, it's kind of complicated. You can zone it a million different ways. You can heat your domestic hot water off them. You can have baseboard, radiators, and in-floor heat in the same house, along with the 53-gallon tank sitting next to it that this little box on your wall does all the work. We'll build a 9-section steam boiler in somebody's house as well. So it's kind of a vast variety of boiler types in the city. But we kind of do it all. Our cast iron boilers, I think we do a really good job with them, especially the bigger ones. Sometimes it's a middle of no man's land and the piping's 4 inches and covered in asbestos, and there's not a lot of options. You kind of have to go with what is in there, or it's a huge financial burden to get it to modern day standards, I guess. But, a lot of people love their older houses in the city of Buffalo, and they restore them to their old glory, and it works out.
Now, personally, I love the feel of boiler heat, that radiant heat. I just think it's a much cleaner, much more comfortable heat. So I like those. I personally have a boiler, and even getting the floor warmed up is a great way to wake up and get out of the shower.
Everybody who has a boiler says the exact same thing. They're like, It's just a different heat. It's cleaner. There's not air blowing around. There's not dust blowing around. So people who have grown up with a boiler or who have radiant heat, they absolutely love it. It's kind of I wouldn't change it for anything,
When you came to Cellino, and it was a few months after, you kept pitching to me that we should do rooftops. And at first I pushed, I said, absolutely not. This is what we do. We do this. We're going to do this over and over and do this stuff over and over really well. I've also learned that anytime I get into an argument with you about something, I tend to lose. And we go,
Really?
I think so, right?
I don't know.
Maybe not. It feels like it to me. Nonetheless, we're doing lots and lots of rooftops lately. What does that look like? What is the rooftop job? I went to the first one we did. I had my mind blown, even though I've been in the industry since I could walk. What does that look like when we do roof? And what is a rooftop? Let's start there.
So a rooftop unit is basically a furnace and air conditioner that sits on your roof. So if you're in strip plazas are our favorite to do, right? They're low to the ground. There's access to them. They're easy to get to with a crane. And it's really your furnace and air conditioner is in a box. It sits on the roof, and the ductwork comes down through the roof and does the same thing as your furnace and air conditioner at home. So it's the majority of the rooftops in Western New York are probably 7.5 tons and under. I mean, we put a 5-ton system in people's homes all the time.
What does the crew look like at Cellino Plumbing?
This is my favorite question you asked me so far. Our young guys are fantastic here. We have. We kind of have an apprenticeship program, I guess we would call it. They kind of bounce around a little bit between heating and plumbing, and eventually they find their way, or they're kind of helped to find their way a little bit. They're all friends. They hang out on the weekend. They go to concerts together. They're 45 minutes early to work every day. They hang out in the parking lot. They hang out in the shop, and honestly, we just have. Is it hard to find guys with 20 years experience? Yeah, it is. But I think the stigma of working with your hands has changed a little bit lately, and we have gotten some really good guys. So we just have a good core and a good glue right now, and hopefully we keep that going.
Experience, I do believe, is valuable, but really it's the person and how they take that experience, and that goes a long way.
Honestly, I don't know if we're lucky or we kind of bounce them around with different installers until they find the right fit for them. I mean, we have, I'll call them set crews, but they're not necessarily set. Like we mix it up all the time. We'll send an extra guy if, somebody's doing a 2-day job and we can get it done quicker by sending, because we're busy and we got to clear the schedule off. I mean, so they get to work together a lot.
Yeah. No, and not just young guys. We got guys with the experience that, we're lucky to have people that do stay. In the industry, it's kind of known that service techs bounce around. Luckily, we don't experience too much of that turnover. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
One thing I have noticed, I've only been here less than 2 years, but one thing I have noticed is a lot of the guys who have left here in the past have also came back here. So I think that's kind of a testament to the company and what they, what they're about, that guys want to come back. I think that's pretty cool. If I was in your shoes, I don't know how I'd actually feel about that, but I don't know. I'm a little stubborn sometimes. So maybe I would be hesitant on that, bringing them back, but on the other side of it, it is pretty cool that they all want to come back,
Yeah. No, that's, we never did. Tyler was actually the first one that I let back, and then it kind of opened up. Everyone else tried getting back in, but that was, it was a good move on our part. I think I was more stubborn and maybe lightened up a little bit, but.
Yep.
So Aaron, just before we close this out, is there anything that you would like to elaborate on? Any other questions that maybe I didn't ask?
The one thing they keep saying with the electrification, even in New York State, is they're going to allow you to have a gas line for a generator. And I don't know if that's because of we're not there with our grid yet, or we don't have the technology to power all these new electrical appliances and electrical vehicles. I do talk to a lot of people in the electrical side of the industry, and they're making changes too. So I think it's going to be closer. I don't think it's nearly as, it's not going to just, the lights aren't going to turn off tomorrow and we're going to have to use no more gas. And so the progression of it has allowed everybody to catch up as far as technology goes. And there's some pretty neat stuff. I sat through a Cummins class the other day, and nothing to do with generators, but it was part of our continuing education that we do with them. It's almost like they build them so you can be off-grid dependent, but still have the grid as a backup. So you're basically charging the grid with these systems that they have out there. And sometimes there's a generator involved. Sometimes there's solar involved. Sometimes there's batteries. Sometimes there's hydrogen. There's the technology that's coming out is just it's pretty awesome, and it's gonna keep growing as we get further and further away from, who knows if we'll ever get away from fossil fuel. I don't think we will, but if we can diminish it, and it's pretty cool.
Certainly. Yeah, and I think we could probably do a whole show on the electrification of New York State and the technology that goes with it. And I bet you we could do another show in 6 months on the changes in HVAC, and it looks vastly different.
Sure.
So maybe we'll take you up on that.
Cool.
But thanks for joining, Aaron. It was a pleasure having you, and learn more about the changes in refrigerants and everything else at Cellino.
Cool. Thanks for having me.